Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of NouTalks. I'm very happy to be joined today by my friend Jean-Maroun El-Khoury, who's 26 years old from Lebanon. Jean graduated from the Saint Joseph University of Beirut and was the president of an apolitical movement in his country, before moving today to France, where he works as a civil engineer at one of the leading construction companies in the world. Just like Noor from last episode, Jean and I met back in 2017 during the MEPI Student Leaders Program in the United States.
I'd like to start by asking you about your background. Would you tell us a bit about the city you grew up in Lebanon?
I grew up in Aukar, which is a city that is located between two big cities, between Beirut and Jounieh. It was really close to my high school, which helped a lot with the fact that I did not have to wake up really early in the morning to go to school. It was a pretty nice location that is close to the sea, close to the mountains, and close to the big cities.
Does that mean that you did a lot of outdoor activities as a child?
Exactly. I was able to do a lot of outdoor activities, especially when I was in the Scouts. And because the Scouts was the Scout of my high school, it simply meant that we were just like 30 minutes away from any distinct location. If I wanted to go camping, it was maximum 30 minutes away.
It's really nice. And would you describe Lebanon a bit for someone who's never been to the country before?
Sure. Lebanon is a really small country that is really rich in history, and there's a lot of different religions, and the cultural identity is a bit different in every single region, which makes it a really interesting country to visit. We do have also the best food in the world, or one of, but in my opinion, one of the best food in the world. And obviously, the good part is that because of how small it is, and because of the fact that we have mountains, it means that you can literally go from being in the middle of the mountains to being at the sea in no time, which makes it a special place to live in, especially to live in.
Yeah, and I just want to know, how different is Beirut from the rest of Lebanon? Because that's what we know most. We just know a lot about Beirut, but not all other cities. How do you think it is different from the rest?
It is insanely different, actually, because Beirut is, as you know, it's the capital. It's the most densely populated place in the country. You can actually sense it. You can actually feel the fact that there is so much more people in that area than in the rest of the country. I, for example, am a person that cannot actually live in Beirut. It's too much for me. But there's a lot of people that cannot live outside of Beirut because of, when you live in a place and you're used to it, you just can't. You just, you like it. And you get used to that lifestyle and that life. But yeah, Beirut is a really nice place. We have approximately 18 religions in Lebanon, which means that in different areas, there's a majority of people from the same culture that live in that area. And the thing is about Beirut that does not really exist, because in Beirut, you have everything and anything. You can walk next to Abu Ali that has a really small snack that sells sandwiches, and the place next door is Abu Joseph. They all call Abu something for some reason, but yeah, it's Abu Joseph that also sells like shawarma. It's definitely a cultural hub that you will not find anywhere else, because of how densely populated and how not homogeneous, how different it is from the rest of the country.
Yeah, and I do understand how much there's so many religions, etc. In Lebanon, but how did that affect you growing up? Were you affected by this multicultural background, especially when it comes to religion, or it didn't really affect you in any way because you didn't live in a central hub, which is Beirut?
So that's exactly the thing. The fact that I didn't really live in Beirut made me discover this, and this is not just my issue. It's not really an issue, but like my case. It's not just my case. It's the case of a lot of people in Lebanon, where we live in a certain city, certain area. We go to a certain school, and we simply don't really mix with anyone else that's from a different culture. And then when you go to university, and that's when you actually do. That's the case of a lot of a big ass population, a big part of the population. Why? Because mainly all of the good schools are private schools. So people tend to go to private schools way more than public schools. Public schools are really not really that funded, or they're badly funded because they just don't really give them the proper amount of money to be able to withstand a proper education with good teachers and decent facility and whatever, which means that every single school is basically a private school. And because of the history of Lebanon, most of the private schools are schools that are created by French monks or English ones. This is in the Christian area of the country, and in the Muslim areas, it's the same thing. It was schools that were funded and started by religious groups that grew and became a bit more independent, obviously. But at the end of the day, we take religion classes, for example, from the day we start school till the day we finish. Lebanon is a country where religion really is everywhere. When you go to vote, you vote for an Orthodox dude and a Maronite dude and a Sunni guy and a Shia woman, and it's there's certain seats for every single ethnicity, and it's everywhere. And the thing is, because I grew up in Aukar, which is an area that is mainly dominated by Christians, there's a lot of Christians that live there. Not that many Muslims live there. That means that, well, first of all, you're going to find a lot of bars. You're going to find a lot of clubs. You're going to find a lot of, haram things. Knowing that I was, for example, in a school called Collège Maurice-Chanville, which is a school that is a highly Christian school, Catholic. We took religion classes since we were kids till even to the back. However, when you go to university, that's where these rules do not apply, because I went to Université Saint-Joseph, because Université Saint-Joseph is in Beirut, so everyone goes there, regardless of religion or whatnot. It's one of the best universities in Lebanon. It's the best university when it comes to universities that have a French curriculum. You actually get to see the other part of the country and the other cultures and whatever when you go to university.
Yeah, that's very interesting and very rare to see, honestly. And I just want to know, how did you live the transition from being at a very Christian environment where you grew up, and then when you moved to Beirut to go to university, you've been confronted with all these other religions and being with so many people from different backgrounds. How did you live through that?
So that's a good question. The thing is, every single person does it in their way. So, for example, I didn't really care about other people's religion because that's how I am. Like, I'm a person that doesn't really give into it, Like, as long as you're a good person, I don't really care what you believe in. A bad person is a bad person regardless of what they believe in. So that's me. But there are some people that try not to know the other, simply because they have a lot of misconceptions and they feel that person is that way and they just don't want to go close to that person. However, most of the people don't do that, because at the end of the day, you're going to sit in class and be next to that guy or that girl, obviously. You're going to be in group projects with different people, which in my opinion is an amazing thing. That's how people learn that even though that person lives a different lifestyle, that doesn't mean that person is really bad. It's simply that person is different. Like the fact that they drink or eat pork doesn't make them bad, or the fact that they don't drink or don't eat pork doesn't make them bad too. There's so much more opportunity for them to learn about other people's thoughts and how they see things. And a lot of them do. A lot of them try to learn more, and a lot of them just don't.
I wanted to ask you though about your role as a president of a movement in Lebanon, which is called an apolitical club. And I actually want you to tell to people that don't understand what an apolitical club means, and what did you do at this association?
Okay, let's start from the beginning. in universities, there's a student board. Like usually in a normal country, people have like an agenda. They go like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You just grab a couple of friends and you decide that you're gonna be in the student board. And depends on your popularity and whatnot, you get either elected or not. However, in Lebanon, this is not the case, especially in big universities and faculties that are renowned in the country. So, for example, I was in UZIB, École Supérieure d'Ingénieurs de Beirut. That school of engineering is one of the, if not the most known engineering school in the country. So what the politicians do is they fund students to do their political campaigns and try to win in the name of their party, so that at the end they claim that party that win as theirs. So at the end of the student elections, you will go on the news, as you do normally for the country's elections, to see the results of student elections, to see whether or not X, Y, or Z won that engineering school or that medical school or whatever, which is, in my opinion, insane. The main idea behind that is to say that the elite of the country are from our school of thought. So in their opinion, if School of Engineering and the medical school of the biggest university in Lebanon, most important one, were won by the same political party, that means that political party is made out of people that are really intelligent, really successful, etc. That's why they fund them, and they fund them with a ridiculous amount of money. It's not like they give them like $1,000. No, they give them up to $20,000. What I did was I was in a apolitical group, which means that we were a club that was against the fact that you had to be funded by politicians to be in a school election. In our opinion, it was absurd. Let me explain how it's done. I, for example, go to university. I start in the first year. It's a 5-year program. I'm doing engineering. First year, I vote for X. Okay? X works. I like X. Second year, I'm going to vote for X. I'm going to keep voting for X as long as they do the work for the whole 5 years. Okay? When I finish university, I'm going to be a person that is used to voting for X. However, what people don't know is, and don't realize, is that X in university, the students that are working for at the university, at the scale of just the school of engineering or whatnot, is not the same as the politics that go around in the country. It's not the same as the corruption that has been happening in the country, and we are seeing right now the results of that. It's just not the same. X that you see, like the political party that you see in university, this is not the real political party. This is not how it really is in real life. However, you're used to voting for that for that party. So what you do when you grow up and become a part of this of the working society, you just end up voting for the same people because, like, yeah, I'm used to it. They worked really well in university, so they must be the same thing. I'm giving you the example of the general population that don't really care about politics and don't really, read into it. Plus, there's the people that become involved in politics because of that, but in the wrong way, because there's never really any talks about political views. They just take you as a friend, make you part of their club, part of their group of friends. They go out every single day or every other day. They make you part of their, as they call it, family. Like, when you're in a family, you can't really leave. You can't really betray them, even though you feel that you really want to, which makes it really hard. And that's the thing. They influence them so that at the end of the day, they end up voting for that same political party in the real elections. So what we did is we started out this thing a couple of years ago. It was, I think, 2016. It literally started with, like 20 people. And then it grew and it grew. And we became a party that goes against the two main political parties in my School of Engineering. And we started by just going up against them, doing what you usually need to do, which is, do an event. People come to that event. They pay to get in or to participate. You take the money, You use the money to fund other projects, and that's how you should do. That's how it should be done. We never ask you about your religion. We never ask you about your political your political opinions, because even in our political party, there was a lot of people that had political views, but simply shared the same vision that we had, which was your political views have nothing to do with your student life, and they shouldn't.
I have a question concerning this whole lifestyle. I understand that you were in a club that advocates, being independent and not being influenced by political parties. I just want to know, for people or universities in Lebanon they don't have apolitical clubs, they don't have people to just stand up for everything which is not political. What do you think people should do in that case? Like, what do you think should be done besides creating apolitical clubs? Do you think there are other alternatives?
So the thing is, beforehand, people would usually either just vote randomly, not vote, which is the worst thing ever, or vote a blank vote. In my opinion, a blank vote is a good vote, because that means that you voted and you are not represented, because blank votes are counted. However, the right thing to do is to actually create a club. It doesn't cost anything. You will always find someone that thinks like you. You are never alone. And to prove to you and to every single one of the people that doubted the fact that we were not alone, after the first year, almost every single faculté decided to do a political party. So today, beforehand, we were one or two majors that were willing to go through hell and back just to prove a point. Now it became way more abundant. It is one of the things I'm most proud of, honestly, being part of that club, because I know that I was part of a minority of people that saw through all of that corruption. And I was also part of the people that eventually were the ones that led and started the revolution in Lebanon. I was one of the people that was part of that community that saw that this just does not work. It starts with a small step forward, but it's all it takes sometimes. Sometimes all it takes is someone to just go like, screw it, I'm going to do it.
Honestly, that's really, really interesting. And someone's listening to us and doesn't really know what's happening today in Lebanon. How would you describe it? Do you think things improved politically and religiously speaking, or do you think there's so much more to do? And how can people contribute in it, in changing, of course, in making things better? There's
always a silver lining in every single situation. Obviously, now, right now with the COVID-19, everything is a bit on standby. The good thing about what happened is that everyone is into politics way more. Like, people that usually didn't care before the revolution, now they actually read up, they actually look up stuff, they actually want to know whether or not they voted on this decision or not, who voted with, who voted against, people are more interested in politics, and that is a really important thing.
So for you, one of the most important thing is political awareness?
Political awareness is really important. Also, what should be really important is to have a critical way of analyzing things and not really just basing your analysis on what you already know, or more importantly, on what your family, your parents told you beforehand. In my opinion, the best thing people need to do right now is to actually analyze what's happening, like looking at facts without emotions. Because sadly, the Civil War was not that long ago. People that fought in the Civil War are still here right now. These people are our parents, our grandparents, and the leaders of all political parties were the leaders of the Civil War, which means that there's a lot of emotions when it comes to politics. People need to put that aside. Also, there's something really important, which is people need to talk to each other. When they talk to each other, when they talk to someone that thinks differently, they will look at things a bit differently. Knowing that in today's world where everyone can send a WhatsApp fake propaganda, about whatever. It's really important for people to communicate and fact check. Fact checking is really important.
Yeah, especially today with like WhatsApp. I know that it's such a big, communication propaganda app right now in the Arab world. I wanted to understand, since you've been very involved in your a political club during university, I just wanted to know if you've ever had a part-time job, or do you not have time for that during university?
When it's election times, I don't have time to go to school. But during elections, I used to skip a lot of classes. It was definitely not the best way to go, but some sacrifices had to be done. However, during the rest of the year, I was able to have a bit more time. So usually what happened was, during my internships, I did all my internships in France, so I was able to put a bit of money aside. And every time I came back from my internships, I had to work on the political campaign. So technically, I was good financially during that period. Afterwards, there's you have to go through exams, and there's Christmas and whatnot. You tend to feel the need to have a bit of money because And
Yeah.
the type of jobs I did were always like a one-time thing. However, I had a really, really limited budget when it comes to going out. I'm not the person that goes clubbing every single weekend. There's different lifestyles. Clubbing is a really big thing in Lebanon, and people that used to go there go clubbing like 2 times a week, or 3, or even 3 to 4 times a week. These people had to have a side thing for sure, because they needed to pay for all the alcohol, obviously. I, for example, used to do surveying. That is something that I used to do for a weekend, for example. I gave a couple of classes for high school kids.
I wanted to know if there's a popular part-time job that a lot of students, go for in Lebanon. And I also want to know if having a part-time job is culturally just normal in Lebanon, because I know in a lot of Arab countries, having a part-time job as a student is not necessarily something people go for.
In Lebanon, it definitely is. It obviously depends on, where you live and the culture and the community that you live in. If you're from a rich-ass community, you don't really need a part-time job. Basically, the middle class and the lower class people everyone has a side gig. For example, the most typical thing is to be a waiter in a restaurant. In engineering school, most of the people work as teachers. They teach, they give lessons private lessons to students.
I wanted to know why you mentioned that you spent or you've done most of your internships in France. I want to know why. Is it just because it's, Europe and you want to travel, or was it difficult to find an internship in Lebanon?
So when it comes to internships in Lebanon, you can have internships in Lebanon. However, you're not paid, which in my mind is really, in my opinion, it's the worst thing ever. Because when you don't pay the person, you don't have the incentive to actually give them work and actually give them responsibility, because you're not paying, so you don't really care. When you pay them to do, even if it's a relatively small amount, you still want to get your money's worth, Or, for example, in France, they get way more than the money's worth. The actual reason why I tried to get an internship in France was because of the company itself, It's the biggest contracting company in the world. So back then, I just wanted a big company on my CV. It was an opportunity of a lifetime, and I took it. That's why I did my internships in France. So I did my first one in France, and it was a big project. It was the Orly airport. And after that, I just told them I wanted to do another internship, and they liked me enough to give me another internship. So I did my second internship in Roland Garros, the tennis stadium. And after that, I asked for a job, and they gave me the job. So it was less complicated because it's a big company. It's the biggest company. As a person that does not have a French degree, it was really hard for me to find a job directly from Lebanon.
I want to know how the working situation for new graduate is in Lebanon. I know that you've moved directly to France, but because you wanted to get into a big construction company. But how about your friends and relatives? Is it really complicated to find a job as a graduate in Lebanon?
Yes, it is incredibly hard right now. Even before the revolution, it was practically impossible to find a job in engineering in particular because of the economic stress that was put on the country. From the people that graduated with me, we were approximately like 88. I would say there's like 20 in Lebanon left. The rest are either in the Gulf or in Europe studying or working. And the ones that did, most of them don't even work in engineering. I have a big group of friends that were civil engineers or mechanical or electrical engineers that work in Allianz, the insurance company. There's a lot of people that work in management consulting, obviously, that are based in Lebanon. However, all their projects are for Saudi Arabia or the UAE or whatever. So they work in Lebanon, but not for Lebanon. And usually when you wanted to find a job for sure, you needed to know someone, like you needed to know someone from the family or whatever, or you had to know someone politically to be able to find a job in a decent company.
How can youth today or new graduates get over that obstacle? Do you think they should just leave?
Do you think they should just leave? First off, it's not that easy to leave. It's for everyone that thinks that I left Lebanon and I was happy to leave Lebanon. It's not the case. I love Lebanon. I obviously tried to figure it out and try to make it a better place for me and for the future. I fought for it, and my family had to struggle because of that. Like, my father died when I was 6 years old. So I lived with a single mother all my life, me and my brother. To leave my mom alone in Lebanon was really hard. However, we both knew that it was the right choice to make. Because of the fact that there was no job, there was no opportunities. When you have a choice to leave, sadly, most of the Lebanese people do leave. When you don't have a choice, most of the people try to get that choice. Like they try to apply for, immigration. I have a lot of friends that tried to apply for immigration. I have a lot of friends that try to find universities abroad just to do a master's, any master's, just to leave, And sadly, in my opinion, the biggest problem that Lebanon has faced, and will face is the immigration of its youth, the brain drain, as they call it. Today, there's 15 million or more. There's an approximation of between 15 and 20 million Lebanese people living abroad, and there's 4.5 million Lebanese people living in Lebanon. We don't have really the most the calmest neighbors on earth, having Syria in the north and Palestine in the south. We don't really live in the most stable area in the world, and that's me just disregarding all the problems that we have internally. All of these factors lead to a lot of Lebanese people just wanting to leave and go and find their future.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I want to fast forward to a question about your openness to other countries in the MENA region. I just want to know, because we both were part of the MEPI program where we've met all countries around the North African and Middle East. And I want to specifically ask about Morocco, because I'm Moroccan, obviously, and I know a lot of people that are listening are Moroccan too. I just want to know, what kind of impression did you have of Morocco growing up, like when you were in Lebanon, just to know what kind of, information people have or kind of mindset people have of Morocco before and after you actually traveled and met Moroccans, etc.
Honestly, I've never had an encounter with anyone from North Africa before I went to the MEPI program. I've never met a person from North Africa beforehand. There's not that many North African people that come to Lebanon. We don't hear all I heard was, the Arab Spring. That was the first time I actually Googled Tunisia or Algeria or Morocco for the first time. When I went to the MEPI program, Moroccans seem to be pretty chill. I don't understand one word they say when they talk in Arabic. Sadly, as a Lebanese person, everyone understands when I talk in Lebanese, which means that you guys can actually insult me to my face without me understanding one word, and that sucks. The people that I've met here in France that were from Morocco, all of them were pretty cool. They tend to be open-minded. As long as they talk in French or in English, I'm okay. When they start talking in Moroccan, I'm like, just no.
Wow. Your only obstacle is basically just the accent, the dialect,
accent?
the Arabic
Really?
dialect.
It's a ridiculous dialect.
You're not making an effort, John. You're not. I
Pretty sure
wanted.
I'm the only one that has that struggle.
I'm gonna do a poll. Don't worry, and we'll see if you're right. I wanted to know after meeting a lot of people from all the MENA region, what did that change for you? I mean, what kind of input did that add in your life, I think? Did you find any similarities with the Arab world?
First off, I was really grateful that I live in a country like Lebanon, because like I'm gonna give you the example of a person that you know pretty well, which was my roommate in Mepi. He came from Algeria. He had never met a non-Sunni person that was Arab. I am like lucky enough to live in a country I used to live in a country where people came from had different cultures, different traditions, and still lived in the same country. And I never really understood how important that is. There were people in Mepi that had never met a Shia person that was Arab. They had never met a Christian person that was Arab. They had never met a a Sunni person that didn't really believe in religion. They'd never met an atheist that was Arab. Like all of these things, all of these different aspects, I've always seen them in Lebanon. I've always seen people that were really religious or just not religious at all, that came from different backgrounds. I noticed that this was very specific to where I lived, In Morocco, usually there's a bit more, like they've seen more because if I'm correct, there are multiple communities, right? Like you guys have, you do have a bit more variety, but again, at the end of the day, it was just not the same. Second thing was, if you put Arabs together, everyone's gonna start dancing and chanting really loudly, regardless of their background. Everyone knows the same music pieces. All of you guys like couscous, which is, I will never understand your love of couscous. People from the Levant area are lucky enough to have better food than people from North Africa.
Wow.
And
you should actually visit Morocco to try couscous, because other than that, I'm just not gonna take your opinion on it.
We're gonna have to do a whole visa process that's gonna take 6 months, and hashtag Lebanon, hashtag visa process being shit.
I want to finish up this episode by asking you about one of the best advice, right, you've ever been given during your life or your childhood or whatever, that at a certain point in your life has changed so much in you in a way or another. Can you tell me a bit about that?
So it's my mom. She's my biggest inspiration. It's not really an advice she gave me, but it's a way. So I'm gonna explain what the advice is. The advice is basically to utilize your network. So there's a lot of people that are really sociable. They know a lot of people. They get to know. They have friends and whatever, but they never really ask for favors. Let's just put it that way, because they're either scared of being denied the favor, or they just don't like being owing someone a favor. However, I've learned that you just don't lose anything. Even the person that you think you will never be able to help them in any way whatsoever, sometimes you will, and you always should. The only situation where you shouldn't is when financially it will be harder on you than on them. That's when you just go like, no, I can't. But other than that situation, normally, if you can help out someone, do it. And if you want help, call, ask for help, utilize your network, use it. Like if you know the person, that person can help you, ask them. You have way more to gain than to lose. And that is the main thing. Like, honestly, on my phone, there's not one single contact I would not call. If I had a question, even if it's a person, like literally yesterday, I called the person I hadn't talked to in like 3 years. I wanted to ask a question. He's a lawyer, and I knew that he would be able to help me out in that certain on that certain topic. So I just called him up. Hi, how are you, man? I have a question. I just asked the question. I didn't lose anything. I got to talk to a friend of mine that it's been a long time after he answered me. That's the main advice. Just utilize the network that you have. And if there's another thing that she taught me, it's perseverance. Life is not fair. However, perseverance is really important. Like knowing that, it's going to be okay. You're going to be able to, you need to always look forward. She's been through, I can literally write a freaking Netflix drama on my mom's life. But she's one of the strongest people I've met and the strongest people I've known. And it's all about perseverance. Just looking ahead, going like, it's okay, I can deal with this, and just dealing with it. These things I live by. These are the things I live by.
Yeah, she sounds like an amazing woman.
She is.
I'm going to wrap up because I wanted to ask you this earlier. As someone who's non-Muslim, I can call you're Christian, right? I can just say you're Christian.
I was born Christian. Yeah, I was born Christian Maronite.
Okay. So as a Christian, how did you used to live Ramadan in an environment that was multi-religious?
So, because I used to live in an area that was mainly Christian, it honestly didn't really affect anything, except for the fact that everyone had Ramadan specials on their menus, which was awesome. I really looked forward to the Ramadan specials because it was like so many dishes for so little amount of money, which made it pretty awesome. And obviously, I really looked forward to iftar. Every single time I was invited to an iftar, it was awesome. The bad part was that I ate during the day and then went to the iftar, which meant that I ended up being extremely fat at the end of Ramadan. For me, it was a fattening experience. Ramadan is a fattening experience, but I liked it. Like it was a nice. It had a nice vibe. When it comes to how the community lives it, because of the fact that we are like people live Christmas in Lebanon, all across Lebanon. People live Ramadan all across Lebanon too. However, it's a bit different in these areas where, people that live in areas that are mainly Muslim will close their places, their restaurants or whatever during the day, maybe. However, I'm pretty sure most of them just don't. And they have to struggle with, working with food all day long and not being able to eat. It's a bit hard on them, but, I think they got used to it.
Okay. Well, I hope in France it's less. There's no Ramadan for you, no Ramadan vibe right now, is it?
No iftar. But then again, the thing is, there's COVID. So, I can't really go to someone's place to have the iftar. But yeah, I'm pretty, it's a bit sad. Plus, there's no Ramadan specials. That sucks.
That really
Well,
sucks.
that's okay. You have to, once you decide to go to Morocco, go during Ramadan. Maybe that's a good idea for you.
Too much couscous.
Start.
We'll see
I don't know if people actually make couscous during Ramadan.
Why?
Because you're not gonna break the iftar with couscous.
I get it.
No, it's
I
not.
get it.
Maybe at dinner, like maybe if they want to have iftar and dinner, and then dinner they make couscous maybe. But
Yeah,
they
that's
should
what I
really
meant.
they should really love couscous to make it for dinner.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah, but I'll let you know. Thank you, Jean, for being part of this episode.
Thank you. It was fun.
It was fun, and I learned so much more about you, honestly.